Here's what's coming up on Network Africa. 27 soldiers charged with multiple offenses over an alleged coup attempt in Sierra Leone. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas meets with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi on the ongoing situations in the West Bank and Gaza. Thus, South Africa to reopen an inquiry into the murder of 4 anti-apartheid activists nearly 4 decades ago. Thank you for joining us at this time. Welcome to the program. I'm Layo Olarinde. We begin in Niger, where Salem Bazoum, son of deposed President Mohamed Bazoum, has been released by a military tribunal. After spending more than 5 months in detention, he has now left for Togo following mediation efforts by regional leaders. Well, he was detained alongside his parents at the presidential palace after the military staged a coup last July. In a statement, the military tribunal said that the release of Mr. Bazoum Jr. was provisional and it would be up to him to respond to justice as soon as he is required to do so. He had been charged with conspiracy to undermine the authority of the state following the coup. His parents, however, remain in detention, and the junta has so far refused to bow to diplomatic pressure to release them. Togo's government confirmed Bazoum Jr.'s release, but did not give details on his whereabouts. Sierra Leone had also been involved in mediation efforts to secure the release of the ousted president's son. In the meantime, a court in Sierra Leone has charged 27 soldiers with multiple offenses over an alleged coup attempt. The charges include mutiny, failure to suppress mutiny, murder, aiding the enemy, and others. Well, last November, gunmen broke into a military armory and several prisons in Freetown, freeing almost 2,000 inmates. The authorities described this as an attempt to overthrow the government. Last week, in connection with the same incident, former President Ernest Bai Koroma was charged with treason. He denies any involvement in the events which brought about the death of 20 people. The authorities are also prosecuting one of Mr. Koroma's former presidential bodyguards alongside 11 former police and correctional officers. Proceedings, which began on Monday, have been adjourned to Wednesday. Lawrence Williams is editor at the Freetown Post newspaper in Freetown. He joins us now for more on the program. Hello, Lawrence. Thank you so much for your time. The last time we spoke about, this story, it was unclear the situation with former President Koroma's residency. What is the update at this time?
It's apparently clear that the former president is still under house arrest and that the government has not actually taken out any official statement regarding the receipt of correspondence from ECOWAS. However, following his arraignment and subsequent granting of bail, which placed him under house arrest, and looking at the ECOWAS letter as well, which has been received with mixed feelings here at home, with many people applauding the regional bloc for what many believe or describe as its timely intervention to save Sierra Leone's democracy, particularly preserving the peace and security of the country. But on the other hand, critics say that ECOWAS erred in this matter in that they accuse the bloc of playing a double standard role and having a particular sentiment towards the former president, who is alleged to have been involved in the failed coup of November 26th. So apparently, nothing seems to be coming forth with regards the request by the ECOWAS Commission President and the government has not taken an official statement yet. The Minister of Information was on Voice of America last weekend and stating that the discussions they had with ECOWAS, ECOWAS high-level delegation in December, did not include such arrangement as granting asylum to the former president in Nigeria, as well as dropping of all legal or discontinuation of all legal charges against him in the court in Sierra Leone.
All right. Now, talking about court cases, we know there was a pre-trial that started on Monday. 12 soldiers, 27 soldiers charged. Do give us more details about the proceedings, which has now been adjourned till Wednesday.
Well, basically, the pre-trial was meant to set the stage of preparation, the preparatory phase of the court-martial. And the judge advocate, Magistrate Magegba, of course, sworn in the board members who happen to be military personnel with some legal background. And the accused persons, the military personnel accused of mutiny, murder, and other offenses were arraigned in court. And in fact, one of the accused persons was apparently suffered an attack in court, and he had to be taken away by the correctional officers. And so practice or directions have been given by the magistrates as to how the case would further on, and as well as the state has already indicated to the court that it has about 52 witnesses, to testify in this matter. And of course, they have set some basic timelines as to when the period within which the state should be allowed, to proceed with its case and conclude on same, and where the defense team will also pick it up and be able to conclude in time. And so basically the pre-trial phase of the 27 military personnel yesterday, who are charged with 88 counts of mutiny and other related offenses, did the judge, one of the things the magistrate rather, did say, or sort of caution the journalists, activists, CSOs, and whosoever was present in court, was to avoid running some kind of commentary so that it doesn't appear to be trial by media. And the magistrate cautioned that reportage should be accurate and consistent so as not to create any space within the social media that could lead to disinformation or that could lead to some uproar or outrage within the country.
Indeed, Lawrence Williams. It's been adjourned till Wednesday, and we'll wait and see how it pans out. But thank you so much, editor at the Freetown Post newspaper in Freetown.
Importantly, today again, the 12 accused who are standing treason separately, who are jointly charged, were arraigned again today. As it was the last time, the trial could not proceed on grounds that one of the accused persons, who happens to be the organizing secretary of the Opposition All People's Congress, was ill, and so he was conspicuously absent. And his sick paper was presented in court, and it was vetted to be authentic from a professional doctor. And so the matter was adjourned again to tomorrow.
All right, a whole lot happening tomorrow then, but thank you so much for your reporting, Lawrence Williams.
Thank you.
We move to North Africa. In Cairo, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has engaged in diplomatic talks with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, focusing on the ongoing situations in the West Bank and Gaza. President Abbas stressed the urgency of collaborative efforts to halt Israeli aggression against Palestinians. Well, Egypt, a crucial channel for humanitarian supplies into Gaza, has been diplomatically active in mediating a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Well, joining us now in the studio for more discussions on this is Chukwuemeka is a former lecturer, diplomatic and consular relations law, Nasarawa State University. Hello, Mr. Eze. Thank you for joining us in the studio. But before we continue the discussion, I understand we should take a break for now. Still ahead on Network Africa. Orthodox Christians in Ethiopia are celebrating Christmas. More details after the break. Please join us again. Thanks for staying with us. We continue our conversation with Mr. Chukwuemeka Eze, former lecturer, diplomatic and consular relations law, Nasarawa State University. Thank you for your time. We're discussing the Palestinian president is in Egypt, Mahmoud Abbas, concerning the war in Gaza, which is inching towards 4 months as we see it. But how would you assess the role Egypt has been playing? I mean, we've seen Egypt be a strategic power in helping.
Yes, Egypt has been playing a yeoman's role. It has been the arbiter in many respects, especially with America's diplomacy. The Americans have found Egypt a very important ally, especially with the crossing into Gaza, the humanitarian movements
the Rafah
towards
border.
The Rafah border. Definitely, without Egypt's cooperation, it would have been difficult to channel all those humanitarian aid to Gaza, except to go through the sea, and there is a blockade in that regard. So Egypt has played that role, and it is important to know that prior to the peace accord between Israel and Egypt, when Anwar Sadat visited Israel, after the Yom Kippur War of 1973, Egypt failed to recapture Sinai, which Israel took over in the Six-Day War of 1967. Israel took over Sinai from Egypt, East Jerusalem from Jordan, and Golan Heights from Syria. Egypt tried in 1973 to take it back, and they couldn't, and Anwar Sadat eventually visited Israel and gave up his life for it. That led to the establishment of diplomatic relations between. Since that time till today, Egypt has been playing a very clear role. Nobody knew that Egypt would be doing this kind of thing more than 50 years ago, but it is doing it now. And the visit of the Palestinian leader, Mahmoud Abbas, in this context, showcases a situation whereby Egypt should never accept the suggestion of some right-wing officials in Israel for some Gazans to be deposited, let me use that word, in Sinai. Yes, so these are suggestions that some of them should be kept in Jordan and some kept in Egypt, but Israel has denied taking that official position, because if it does, it will be cataclysmic for Israel with respect to international law, because it will amount to taking genocidal steps, which South Africa has already accused Israel of, and the matter is before the International Court of Justice, where South Africa has invoked Article 74 of the Statute of the ICJ.
Indeed, that's my next question to you. You know, South Africa is another African country that we've seen, you know, at the forefront of this, and it's really vocal in its support for the Palestinian people. But this International Court of Justice lawsuits that we've seen South Africa bring before the body, the US is not having it. It's saying, you know, it's meritless, counterproductive, and completely without any basis in fact. What are we seeing playing out here between South Africa and the US?
No, okay. The matter is far beyond South Africa and the US, but even within that context, under the Genocide Convention of 1948, Article 1, genocide is defined, and by that definition, you discover that South Africa is a state party to the Genocide Convention. Israel is a state party. I think even the US too is a state party. So once there is allegation of genocide or attempt to commit genocide, any state party can sue. So it mustn't be against that country. So it is one of those exceptions that you must be affected before you can sue. Once it has to do with genocide or any matter that can be regarded as coming under jus cogens, under Article 53 of the Vienna Convention on Law of Treaties, 1969, any of the parties can sue. You recall there is a case, the case of Senegal and Belgium, deals with torture, whereby Belgium sued Senegal. So Belgium and Senegal. So the same with genocide. So that's why South Africa is at the ICJ against Israel. And you know, the main backer of Israel is US.
Yes. So
whatever affects Israel affects the United States. So that's why South Africa is having an issue with America is having an issue with South Africa. Besides, you recall that South Africa was accused by US of exporting arms to Russia with regards to the Russian-Ukraine war. So there is a persistent pattern that South Africa is taking measures against American interest, whether it is in the Russian-Ukraine war or in the Israel-Palestinian war.
Now, this war in Gaza, it's not the first, but this one appears to be the deadliest. I don't know if you'd agree with that. In your opinion, what would you say is the best resolution for lasting stability in that region?
Sure. We have to begin by releasing of the hostages.
Yes.
And then, having cessation of hostilities.
Yeah.
Ensuring that we have massive humanitarian aid allowed to enter into Gaza, rebuilding of Gaza, and declaration of the two-state solution, making it real, because it will be impossible to remain in occupation perpetually. It will not happen. And it is also necessary that there should be give and take, because there is this argument that parties should return to 1967 borders. That is to say, allowing Palestine to take East Jerusalem as its capital, whereas Israel regards the whole of Jerusalem, both East Jerusalem, that's the old quarters where you have the old Jerusalem, and the West Jerusalem as integrated capital of Israel, though not recognized by most countries of the world. So, but the Oslo Peace Accord of 1993 has not offered a final resolution. So, definitely there has to be a two-state solution. There is this argument whether we should start from the rear and move to the front or start from the front and move to the rear? Will you declare a two-state solution before you start dealing with the elements? Or dealing with the elements before you come to a two-state solution? In my view, you cannot hold on to hostages and declare a two-state. So basically, hostages should be released. Those prisoners held by Israel that are not supposed to be held should be released to the Palestinian people. Then we should have a situation, an international force to supervise some of these things and avoid a situation whereby there should be consistent attacks or shooting of rockets from Gaza or from any other part of the boundaries of Israel, like Hezbollah is doing from southern Lebanon. So we need a holistic solution. Mere declaration of two-state solution will not be enough. There has to be a holistic solution, a definite and definitive situation whereby Israel's security will be guaranteed, cross-border attacks will be reduced to the barest minimum, and the Palestinian people will have their independence, and basic resolutions of the United Nations Security Council will be complied with by all the parties.
All right, then, a whole lot more to discuss, but we'll leave it at that. And we're hoping for the end to, this devastating war. But Mr. Chukwuemeka Eze, former lecturer, diplomatic and consular relations law, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Well, let's continue the program now in the DRC, where security forces briefly surrounded the home of main opposition politician Moise Katumbi, who came second in the last month's disputed elections. His spokesperson said he was prevented from leaving his home in southern Katanga province. However, security forces are said to have later withdrawn on the orders of a local governor. Mr. Katumbi rejected President Felix Tshisekedi's victory in last month's election. 5 other opposition leaders, including Martin Fayulu, who came third, also called for a protest march against the election results. In a bid to diffuse the escalating crisis, Provisional Governor Jack Katakwe ordered the security forces to leave Moise Katumbi's premises, calling the incident a faux pas. South Africa will reopen an inquiry into the murder of 4 anti-apartheid activists, which became one of the era's most notorious crimes, but remains unsolved nearly 4 decades on. Justice Minister Ronald Lamola said in a statement that it is in the interests of justice to finally bring closure to the families of the deceased who have been waiting decades for the truth about who killed their loved ones. Mr. Lamola also says the move is needed for confidence in the justice system to be restored. 2 inquests were held in 1987 and 1993, but was inconclusive. The so-called Craddock 4 were abducted and murdered while returning home to the southern town of Craddock in June 1985 after a meeting. The bodies of the 4, Matthew Goniwe, Sparrow Mkonto, Fourth Kalata and Cicelo Malauli, were discovered days later, badly burnt with multiple stab wounds. Well, the security forces under the apartheid regime were suspected of being behind the killings. However, no one has been brought to justice. Well, you might have celebrated Christmas, but Ethiopian Orthodox Christians are still in the celebratory mood of Christmas, or Gena in Amharic, which is celebrated on January 7th at the Bole Medhane Alem Cathedral, one of the most popular churches in Addis Ababa. Thousands of faithful gathered to pray and sing from late afternoon until night, lighting candles and following the lead of priests who chant spiritual songs. The congregants wear white garments, a symbol of purity and protection from evil forces in their tradition. However, not everyone in Ethiopia is celebrating. The ongoing conflict and humanitarian crisis in the Amhara and Oromia regions have cast a shadow over the Christmas festivities. Ethnic violence and rebel attacks have forced hundreds of thousands of people to flee their homes and seek refuge elsewhere. I guess it's Merry Christmas to the Ethiopians, and that's where we end the program for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.